Hey everybody, you're listening to today's best music, 97.7 Tom FM, and I have a very wonderful guest with me from Crisis Intervention Services. They are a sexual assault advocate. Her name is Tanvi. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Derek.
You know, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I know that February almost over. We don't have any time left in the month, but it is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and I wanted to get somebody on the show to talk about this and talk about maybe some of the warning signs, what you can do if you're in that situation. So, let's do a breakdown because we need to figure out this, and we need to give some good information out there. And is it? And first, I'll ask you: is this something you deal with on a regular basis, or something you've seen be dealt with?
So we do have a lot of clients at our organization who are under the age of 18 and who do experience a lot of abuse from intimate partners, as well as like family members and stuff. So teen dating violence is something that we do see a lot. Because we are a sexual assault organization, we work a lot more with sexual assault victims. The Crisis Center in Ottumwa works more closely with teen dating violence victims, but it is something that we do see quite frequently.
Sure. And, let's just start the breakdown. Let's start at square one. So what are some of the first signs, say even before physical violence, because sometimes it evolves into that. How, we want to protect ourselves. What are some of the early warning signs that this may be something that's going to happen or that is happening?
Sure. So you're absolutely right that there is an evolution. We know that these things oftentimes escalate. They oftentimes start with language. So that can come in the form of like name calling and controlling and just like a person not really feeling comfortable communicating to their partner in their relationship. And those kinds of things can escalate into maybe they're controlling, they want to read your text messages, they want to like have the passwords to your social media accounts, they want like, just invasions of privacy that aren't appropriate for anybody to have. And so those kinds of things can escalate from language to controlling behaviors to maybe emotional and mental violence before they even get to physical violence. And ideally, it's really important that you're having us on the show to showcase how these behaviors can manifest in relationships, and that way kids can be more vigilant of those behaviors and ask for help before it gets all the way to physical violence, like you said.
And I'm gonna say this too, because I know we have a lot of young listeners, and maybe they're in their first relationship or they're very new to relationships. And I still remember when I was younger and I didn't know anything about relationships. And I'm not even saying that to be embarrassingly. It's just
no, yeah, for sure.
We don't know. And what I want to say is maybe they don't know what's right or what's wrong, and you talk about sort of this controlling aspect, and as you said, this controlling that your partner at the time may have, then that is like one of the earliest warning signs. And and how easy is it to look for that?
I would say that it's pretty hard for younger people to point out healthy and unhealthy behaviors in relationships because we have such few good role models for how to be in a good relationship and how to communicate with your partner. Oftentimes these things get even more difficult if maybe the parents of these people did not have great relationships either. So it's really hard for younger people who have weaker support systems to point out whether or not these behaviors are healthy or unhealthy. Oftentimes we just kind of normalize them in our culture, and it's just like, oh, like this is the way a relationship goes. Like I should give him my password, I should give her my phone to look through for my text messages, all that stuff. So that makes it even harder when it comes to younger people. But I would say that if you have a question about it or if anything makes you feel weird about it, ask for help. Like there's nothing wrong in just checking and asking for help from other people around you. And like the worst thing you're going to, maybe you'll be a little bit embarrassed but like I would say even if you have a slight question about, hey, is this okay in a relationship? Asking for help is like the best thing that you can do.
And I'll say this. So I'm glad that I was, I turned a teenager on the cusp of Google because I had all these questions about relationships.
Absolutely.
So research, that's definitely something you can do then.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's great that we have this technology just like at our fingertips immediately. And there are lots of I know online if you Google like a crisis texting line, those are very popular with younger kids today because people are talking on the phone less. So if you'd rather text somebody or maybe instant message somebody about, a relationship, you don't necessarily have to be on the cusp of crisis. in order to talk to somebody. But if you just have a question like, hey, this person insists on like having my bank account information, is that normal? And then somebody can talk to you about that. But those kinds of texting and instant message services are becoming really popular now.
I would say if you're married, that's, I think, reasonable. But
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe not if you're 16 or something.
Correct, yeah. Okay, so here's something, too, I want to ask you. Like, and I'm just giving a hypothetical. It's your first date. You know, you're a teenager. You're excited, you know, but you don't. What are there any small things that you can notice maybe about a negative personality that could, you know, be something down the line, or maybe they put on a good front? Are there warning signs?
There are definitely warning signs. I would say that they're a little difficult to point out because oftentimes people who perpetrate this kind of abuse are really good at putting on that front, like you said, you know, seeming really charming at first and, you know, maybe framing it like, oh, I just want to like keep you safe. I just want to like be closer to you and things like that. People who do this kind of stuff are, you know, they're really good at it and they know what they're doing. So it can come off as, you know, like okay, and it can come off as a form of caring at first. If somebody seems like they're, you know, wanting too much information about like your social media or your information, you know, if somebody seems like they're wanting too much from you early on and you're feeling weird about it, I would say that's a pretty solid warning sign. Jealousy is a really big one too. Jealousy to the point, you know, everybody gets jealous sometimes, but jealousy to the point of like wanting to control your behavior is a really big one that we see in younger relationships too.
Right. And, you know, one thing, somebody told me this, how they treat their waiter if you're going to a restaurant.
Oh, wow. There it is. Wow. You know, like, you know, not tipping very much or, you know, snapping at a waiter or something like that.
Right.
That's really revealing about a person.
So there you go. Just some good early warning signs. And who can they contact if they're in the midst of this, like something's going on? Do you have a phone number?
We do have a phone number. If for the Ottumwa Family Crisis Center, they are the ones who deal a lot with the domestic violence advocacy in the Ottumwa and 12 surrounding counties. Their office phone number is 641-683-1750. They've also got a domestic violence hotline. Would you like me to read that number too?
Yes, definitely.
1-800-464-8340. And this information can all be found on their website too if you Google Ottumwa Crisis Center.
Perfect. And that's, you know, if you're worried about something or you have a question, they can go there. And
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be a big conversation. It can just be like a couple quick questions and that's it. It doesn't have to be an intense like conversation if you don't want it to be.
And one thing too is it's not just, you know, either gender can be a perpetrator. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So even for the guys out there, if, you know, sometimes acting tough or putting on a front, I would even say that there are some, and I'm not trying to say this in a mean way, but there are some ladies out there or some girls that may have a negative attitude too, and you should steer clear of that. Yep,
there are definitely, you know, all sorts of us have had, you know, we've had bad role models growing up, and so we just kind of reproduce those behaviors as younger kids, and anybody of any gender can perpetrate that kind of violence.
Good information. And Tanvi, thank you so much for joining me on the show today, talking about this. I know the month is just nearly over. We're right on the cusp. But, you know, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, I definitely am so glad that we brought you on the show because I know that it's a problem in our area.
Yeah, it's a problem everywhere, and it affects all of us. It doesn't just affect teenagers, but it affects adults and younger kids and everybody in our community. And I really want to thank you for, you know, showcasing this issue on your show so that listeners can hear and, you know, remember that this is an important issue in the community.
Tanvi, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
You're listening to today's best music, 97.7 Tom FM.